Hello, my name is Chantelle Knight and I'm the PHSE Framework Development Officer for Portsmouth City Council. As part of my role in developing PHSE across the city, I have taken part in a campaign called Is This Love? Is This Love is a project that looks at healthy relationships and domestic abuse. It's been around for a few years. We run it every single year and the materials have recently been updated to take into consideration everything that you guys face in your relationships in the 21st century. Before we do the presentation today, you should have done a pre-lesson plan with your teachers in your PSHE lesson or before the presentation to look at some of the language that we'll be using in the presentation today. After the presentation, either today or in your next PSHE lesson, you'll be doing another lesson on Is This Love, looking at the scenarios that we're about to discuss later on within the presentation. At some point in the presentation, there is a video. If you're watching this virtually, your teachers will pause me, play you the clip, and then come back to the presentation. If you bear with me just a second, I'll load it up for you. Okay, so as you know, the project is called Is This Love? And it looks at healthy relationships and domestic abuse. So in order for us to get the most out of this project and this campaign, and to really understand what it's all about, we need to break down, first of all, what is meant when we ask the question, what is love? Obviously, I'm an adult, I'm 40 years old this year, and love to me may be very different at my age than it was at your age, but when we're talking about this presentation today, we're talking about any age, okay? Any love at any age. We're going to look at what love really is. Is it different for adults and children? Does it matter if what we feel is what we feel? And if there's only one type of love, questions for us to have a think about as we go into the presentation. So when we look at love, we're talking about all the different elements that we need in order for love to be there. So things such as safety, respect, trust, honesty, equality, loyalty, integrity, and compassion. Now, love may have many more elements to it, but these are some of the really important things that we need in a healthy relationship. For example, equality. Relationships should be 50-50. We shouldn't have one person always making the decisions, always suggesting what we do, always deciding where we go. Integrity. That's kind of how somebody treats you when you're not there. Can you have love without feeling safe? Can you have love without respect? Can you have love without honesty? So these are the kind of elements that pull love together. Without these things, our relationship is at risk of becoming unhealthy. When we look at relationship terminology, as I said earlier, in comparison to marriages and adults and relationships that you're having in year 9, 10 and 11, what we're talking about with this presentation aimed at young people is every different kind of relationship that you can have. So you might be together with someone, you might actually be in a long-term relationship. You might have just started dating. You might just be chatting, getting to know each other. You might be seeing each other, but it may not be official. It may be official. You might just be speaking. You could be with each other. It could be exclusive or not, regardless of whether you've been speaking to someone for a few weeks and it's not official, regardless of whether you're girlfriend and boyfriend yet, or regardless of whether you're chatting. This is about every different type of romantic relationship that you can be in from now and in the future also. If you're not in a relationship just now, this doesn't mean this doesn't apply to you. We all get into relationships later on in our life, regardless of the dynamic of that. This is really important information for you to know how to determine a healthy relationship and what to do if you end up in a situation of domestic abuse. So first of all, we're going to have a look at what makes a healthy relationship. So a healthy relationship has all of the elements that we've just discussed: trust, respect, compassion, loyalty, integrity, honesty, feeling safe, equality. There may be other elements that are really important to you as an individual, and that's perfectly okay. Really important to accept each other's views. Okay, it's really healthy to disagree. It's okay to disagree. It's necessary to disagree. We don't find somebody who always shares our views, but it's how we disagree. Having healthy conversations around things that we disagree with, as opposed to arguments. Having separate identities is also really important. So staying as individuals. It's okay to want to be with this person and this person to want to be with you all of the time, but having time and space apart is really, really important. What can happen if we spend all of our time together is we can almost develop something kind of codependency, where we feel we need this person to be okay, or this person needs us to feel okay. And actually, we need to know now and as we go through life that we are enough by ourselves, and that a relationship contributes to our lives and who we are. It doesn't make our life and who we are. Encouraging each other, so wanting and supporting the best for each other, whether that be different career paths, going to different colleges, spending time in different friendship groups. Having a real attitude of gratitude towards each other, appreciating each other for who you are. So when we meet someone, it's all lovely, isn't it? Or the butterfly feelings and everything. But after a certain amount of time, they may do some things that get under our skin a little bit. We have to accept people for who they are. It's not so we can't pick the good bits and want to change the other bits of somebody. None of us are perfect, and it's really important to accept everybody exactly how they are. Unless you're wanting to make healthy changes. For example, if your partner smokes and you don't want them to smoke, if they drink and you think that they drink too much. But in terms of their personalities and their hobbies and their interests, it's really important. Okay, so what is an unhealthy relationship? So relationships that are full of suspicion or accusations regarding who you're talking to, where you're going, what you're doing, who you're with, that really goes against the trust element, doesn't it? If we trust somebody with us and our relationship, then really it doesn't matter who they're speaking to or where they're going to. They really need to have that freedom and independence themselves. Checking up on people, so checking people's social media. And really, as you all know, a big thing at your age in today's world is looking, who's on your best friend list on Snapchat. Why is she on your best friend list? Why is he on your best friend list? Again, if you trust somebody and you respect somebody and you know they're loyal and you're loyal, it doesn't really matter, and everyone's entitled to speak to who they wish. So control, one partner making all of the decisions and telling the other what to do, what to wear, or who to spend time with. Manipulation, so emotional manipulation, blackmail, threats to reveal private information, pictures, or publicly shame someone. So using information that you may have about your partner or that your partner shared with you in trust, and then using that later on down the line to manipulate what you want from them. Looking at intimidation, so threats of physical or sexual harm to yourself, your friends, or your family. Now we're also going to have a look at 3 key areas of domestic abuse, being physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. Psychological or emotional abuse can be verbal or non-verbal. So yelling, name calling, blaming and shaming, isolating people, so not allowing them to have contact with their friends or their families or their loved ones. Intimidation, threats of violence, and controlling behaviour. Emotional and psychological abuse has been at times described by some victims as having a more profound impact on their life, even when physical abuse was there at the same time. Emotional abuse can lead to many problems with self-esteem and self-worth and low confidence. Physical abuse, so any act that causes physical harm or encouragement of self-harm, makes you feel physically unsafe or jeopardizes your safety, or anything that does not, so it doesn't necessarily involve physical touching though. For example, we may relate to somebody who says, but I've never hit them. I've never hit them. But if someone's pushed you, spat at you, thrown something at you, spiked your drinks, or done something without physically putting their hands on you that has still caused you physical harm, it is still physical abuse. Sexual abuse, so pressure, blackmail, or manipulation to engage in any kind of sexual act. Any situation where an individual is forced to participate in unwanted, unsafe, or degrading sexual activity is sexual abuse. Complete disregard for consent, so any form of unwanted sexual touching, ranging from kissing to full-blown sex, which of course we know is rape. Sex without consent is rape. Now your teachers are going to pause me for just a moment and they're going to play this YouTube clip for you, as this is a virtual presentation today. I can't switch between the two, but I'll be back with you in just a second. So how does domestic abuse affect us? We're going to have a look now at some of the ways that domestic abuse can affect how we feel over time. So really losing our self-identity, especially if we're being isolated from our peers and our friends, affects our self-worth, reduce sleep and appetite, can really cause trust issues now and in the future, becoming disconnected, behaviour changes, poor mental health, lack of personal boundaries, anxiety, impact on future relationships, stress, and self-esteem. Now, there are other ways in which domestic abuse of any kind can affect you. These are just some of the main areas. But what we can all agree is that all of these things don't disappear overnight. So if you are ever ending up in a situation where your relationship is unhealthy, toxic, or abusive, these are the kind of things that can embed and take a long time to overcome, and certainly sometimes need professional help. The earlier you speak out and get support for yourself, the quicker we can get that support to you. So now we're going to have a look at various different scenarios, and you're going to be having a look at these in a lesson plan either later on today or in your next PSHE lesson. We're going to be looking at these scenarios and having a debate whether we feel in this situation it's love or not. So Ebony and Isaac have been in a relationship for 8 months. Isaac is a virgin and Ebony has had previous sexual partners. Isaac's family is out of town shortly and he has the house to himself. He originally told Ebony that he felt that he was ready to lose his virginity. However, as time has got closer, Isaac has started to have some doubts. Ebony's told him that if he's not man enough for her and he's going to bail on this agreement, then she's going to find somebody else because he's frigid. Is this love? Scenario 2, Ishmael and Darcy are chatting. It's not an official thing, but they both like each other equally. They both chat to other people, and recently Ishmael has started to question who else Darcy speaks to. He's looking up on her Snapchat, who's on your best friend list, who you're speaking to, who you're following on Instagram. Darcy has a really large male friendship group, and she always has, and Ishmael knew this when he met her. But he's now saying that if he wants to have an exclusive relationship with her and then be an official couple, that she needs to take some of her male friends off her Snapchat. Is this love? Aaron and Leighton have been in a relationship for a year. Initially, there was a lot of trust and respect. 3 weeks ago, Aaron got drunk at a party and kissed another boy. The two decided to stay together and work things through. However, since then, Leighton constantly wants to know where Aaron is, who he's with, and for him to keep his location on all of the time. He gets very upset and angry if Aaron doesn't answer his messages immediately. At the moment, Leighton's calling up to 20 times a day to check in on him. Is this love? Scenario 4. Lucy and Ben have been together on and off since year 8 to year 11. Their families are really close and they all spend a lot of time together. They have always said they will go to the same college. However, Lucy has decided she'd like to join the Navy and has just passed her fitness test. Initially, Ben supported her, but he didn't think she'd get this far and he didn't think she'd follow it through. Now she's decided 100% to pursue her career in the Navy. Ben has decided to end the relationship. Is this love? Dulcie and Lara have been together for 5 months, but have known each other for many years. Dulcie's father was an abusive alcoholic and hits her mother and her throughout her childhood. Recently, Dulcie's mum passed away, and she is struggling with the grief and loss. She's very angry, and she has started drinking a lot and becoming aggressive towards Lara. Dulcie lost her temper with Lara whilst drunk and shouted in Lara's face. On another occasion, Dulcie was drinking and grabbed Lara's arm to stop her from walking away. Last night, during another argument, Dulcie spat in Lara's face. Is this love? Our 6th scenario. Damon and Alyssa met through mutual friends. They kind of go to the same places, go to the same gaffs. They've known each other for a little while. Now they're kind of officially together. Damon would like Alyssa to change her dress sense, but when he first met her, he loved her dress sense, one of the things he really liked. But now he's saying she needs to dress more like she's in a relationship. He thinks that she gives the wrong impression with what she wears. Is this love? So you're going to do some work on those scenarios in a PSHE lesson following this presentation, like I said, either today or in your next PSHE lesson. But one of the things I'd like to end up with us looking at in this presentation today is Clare's Law. Clare's Law is a domestic violence disclosure scheme, which basically allows you to check with the police if a partner now or in the future is suspected of having any kind of previous offences or convictions of domestic violence. So whether you're male or whether you're female, whether you're dating a male or whether you're dating a female is absolutely irrelevant. Any two people in a relationship, any person who feels that after a certain amount of time they're seeing some signs that concern them a little bit, can get in touch with the police and find out if your partner has any past convictions or offences of domestic violence. Clare's Law was introduced after a woman called Claire Wood, who was murdered in 2009 by her then boyfriend. He actually had a history of violence against women. So Clare's Law was introduced in the hope that any other person in a situation where they find themselves, maybe the person they're dating or in a relationship with isn't quite seeming as they first thought, you can get in touch with the police and you can find out about previous convictions. So how do you do that? Well, basically, you can call 101, which is a non-urgent line through to the police, and you can give the details and ask for a domestic violence disclosure. You can apply online. If you go to any police website, obviously for Portsmouth, it would be Hampshire Constabulary, and you would look up Domestic Violence Disclosure Scheme page. You can visit your local police station, and you can even speak to a police officer in the street. So you can pull a police officer in the street, find him, say, hey, look, I've got some questions, I'm dating somebody, how do I find out about this? And they can give you that information. I just want to finish up on some services that are available for people if you end up in a situation where you are concerned about your relationship or are suffering from domestic abuse. There's the Stop Domestic Abuse Children and Young People service in Portsmouth. The telephone numbers for all of these services and information will be given to you at the end of this session today by your class teachers. Parks are a free specialist counselling service for people aged 5 and above who have experienced any form of sexual abuse at any time in their life. So if you're sat watching this presentation today and you've experienced sexual abuse in the past, whether you have or haven't spoken out about it, Parks can provide you with counselling. They're a specialist service. There's a women's helpline there and there's a men's helpline there, and there's also the website page. Childline obviously is run by professionals who can help you with all sorts of information and support around this issue. The National Domestic Abuse Helpline, which is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Telephone number on your screen there, and as I said, you will be given these details today. If you're in immediate danger, wherever possible, call 999. If you wanted to speak to somebody in your school following this presentation today, or at any point about a relationship that you're concerned about, it may be your own or it could be a relationship of a friend, you can speak to your teachers. It doesn't have to be your pastoral lead or your class teacher or your PSHE lead. We all know that as people, we go to the people that we feel that we can share that information with. Any member of staff in your school should be able to support you with this acronym, SWIM. SWIM stands for Someone Who Isn't Me. If I'm a member of staff in your school and you want to come to me and speak to me about a position or a situation that you or a friend are in, but you are worried about giving the name of that person or saying that it's you because you don't want it to go any further, you can approach your member of staff and say, someone who isn't me is in a situation. So, somebody who isn't me is being pressured into having sex when they don't feel ready. Somebody who isn't me was hit by their partner. What can they do? It's really important that you can request support from the adults around you in a safe way. So that's the end of our presentation today. I really hope that you have found it interesting and supportive. Your teachers will be giving you a scratch card later on today, and you can have a look at that. And it just gives you some further information on healthy relationships, etc. Please ensure that you keep all of the details for support today. If you are in a healthy relationship now, that's fantastic. If you're not in a relationship now, regardless, keep the information. You never know when you may use it. Take care.